The Last Knock, a tale of isolation and terror. The small town of Redwood Hollow was quiet under the pale moonlight. Sarah sat alone in her creaking house, her only company the rhythmic ticking of an old grandfather clock. Her husband, Ben, had left for a business trip days ago, leaving her in a house too large, too silent, and too full of shadows. It started with a knock. 3 sharp raps echoed through the stillness. Sarah froze. She glanced at the clock, 11:23 p.m. Too late for visitors. She tiptoed to the door and peered through the peephole. No one was there. Her heartbeat slowed, and she laughed nervously. "Probably the wind," she whispered, turning away. But then it came again. Knock, knock, knock. This time, louder. Sarah felt a chill slither down her spine. She swung open the door, but the porch was empty, just the wind rustling the trees and the faint chirping of crickets. She stepped out, her bare feet brushing against the cold wooden planks, and called into the night, "Is someone there?" Silence. She locked the door and double-checked the windows. Returning to the couch, she tried to focus on the novel she had been reading. But the words swam on the page, her mind caught in an unshakable unease. A soft creak sounded from upstairs. Her head snapped up. The old house made noises, she reminded herself, settling back into her seat. But then, another knock, this time from within the house. Her breath caught. She stood, clutching her phone, ready to dial Ben or the police, but she hesitated, feeling a strange pull, a need to investigate. Step by step, she climbed the staircase, her hands trembling as she reached the top. The sound led her to the guest room. The door was ajar, and a faint, sickly sweet smell wafted out. Sarah pushed it open, her heart pounding in her chest. The room was empty, at least it seemed so at first. Then she saw it. A handprint on the frosted glass of the window. Her stomach dropped. She backed out of the room, only to hear a whisper behind her. "Sarah?" She spun around, and there stood a man, unkempt, his eyes hollow and haunted. He took a step forward. "I've been knocking," he rasped, "for years. You just never listened." Sarah screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the darkness as the man lunged toward her, his icy grip closing around her wrist. In the morning, the house was silent again. The neighbors, noticing the drawn curtains and the untouched mailbox, thought nothing of it. Sarah was simply gone. And every so often, when the night was still and the moon hung low, the old house would echo with soft, patient knocks.